Hey, what's up guys? It's TechZoomer talking to you here. And in today's video, I want to talk about the Sony A6700 and why this camera is the perfect camera for small YouTubers and aspiring filmmakers. But you might be confused because this is an hybrid camera, not a video or filmmaking focused camera. But in today's video, I will explain why this is the best camera for small YouTubers, what are the best lenses in my opinion, and of course, if you like this video, don't forget to drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel, roll the intro. This camera came in July, and this is the successor to the Sony A6600, the Sony A6400, the Sony A6000 series. This is an APS-C camera that does not have the full frame sensor from the more expensive cameras. But in my opinion, that's what makes this camera perfect. The lenses for this camera are cheaper, the equipment required for this camera is cheaper. But don't get me wrong, this camera is not worse, nor does it feel cheaper than the full frame counterparts. So why I'm recommending an APS-C camera instead of a full frame camera or a cheaper full frame camera? Well, because this camera now has been launched in 2023 and Sony is known by not holding back on their equipment. When they launched a lower tier like camera, they don't hold back on features. So the Sony A6700 features the same AI features as the Sony R5. So the 7R5 is the most advanced photography camera from Sony. The equivalent to the Sony A7 IV for filmmaking or the hybrid camera, or the equivalent for the Sony A7 III for photography. So this camera features all the AI features that camera featured, so it's really good on every aspect of autofocus. Like, it always follows your eye, doesn't lose your eye. It's incredible how well it autofocuses. Also, the camera is really good on the color science. It has the updated color science from Sony, features S-Log3, Cine S-Log3, so the version with color grading and the non-color graded version, and way more. The Sony A6700 is prepared for everything. And with all of that in mind, it starts at $1,300 or $1,400. And so it's really cheap when compared to the Sony A7 IV that costs $2,500, or even the Sony A7C, which costs you $2,000. So by having an APS-C sensor, this camera also supports APS-C lenses. These lenses are smaller, more compact, and cheaper. And they do this because the sensor crops in 1.5 times. So you don't need that much big lenses or glass to magnify that much. For example, a 15mm lens, that is the one that I'm using right now, the 15mm G lens from the APS-C lineup, it's the E1.4 15mm G lens. This lens costs you around $500. This lens is really good, really sharp, really good on the color science. The autofocus is perfect, features an aperture ring, features a zoom ring. This is a really good prime lens for Sony APS-C lineup. But it only costs $500. The equivalent lens for this lens on the full frame would cost you $1,200. And now you can see the advantages for small YouTubers and aspiring filmmakers to buy this line of cameras. They have really good hardware, they have really good software, they have really good chips, and they are really powerful, but they are on the cheaper end of the spectrum. On every beginning story, there's always the part that you don't have much money. And you need new cameras, you need new gear to advance your craft. This is the perfect beginner's camera, the perfect small YouTuber's camera. I am a small YouTuber myself, and I decided to buy this camera and upgrade it for my iPhone, and the differences are stellar. This camera focus is incredible when compared to the iPhone. It can create this natural bokeh behind you. It is incredible. The 1.5 times of the crop applying to the full frame sensor, it's natural. Okay, it's not as good, because a 15mm lens will be equivalent to 21mm on the full frame. The bokeh, a 1.4 lens, sounds like it's a really wide lens, but actually is actually a f2.1 on the full frame. So you don't get as much bokeh as you would get on a full frame camera, you don't get as much light. So on low light, the APS-C lens is not as good. But don't get me wrong, it's still amazing. And if you buy the right lens, like this f1.4 15mm from the Sony lineup for APS-C, you will be completely content. This camera's quality is undeniable, and for $1,300, it's insane what you can get on this lineup. The Sony A6000 lineup has been revived by Sony with the launch of the Sony A6700. But what are the best lenses for this Sony? Well, I will make a separate video on this matter, so you are enjoying this video, Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow up for more videos on that. But to actually give you a little summary on what lenses are the best, I would choose at least the f1.4 that I have right now, the 15mm, or the 11mm 1.8, or my favorite and the one that I bought and is coming today is the 18 to 105mm f4. This is a really good zoom lens for the APS-C line. I bought it for only $350, really cheap on a discount. I know it's not as cheap because you are watching this video and thinking, oh, it's very expensive, $250, that's a stupid amount of money for a lens. But trust me, it's cheap. This quality of a zoom lens on full frame would have cost you $1,200, $1,000. And that again is the main advantages of the APS-C lineup. And that's why I'm pushing so hard on the APS-C lineup for you to buy it. It's really good value, and for small YouTubers and aspiring filmmakers is the best part you can buy. Because you are at the beginning of your journey. You're not right at the beginning like iPhone level, but now you need some cameras to build and to learn. This is the perfect camera. You don't need expensive gear to make incredible shots. Again, this whole video has been filmed on the Sony A6700. I have a studio light right here, a $50 studio light. I have some lights behind me. I have my monitor, my computer. I have a DJI mic. That's it. That's all my gear. So that's it. It costs less than $2,000, the whole setup, and it's ready to go, a full-on filmmaking YouTuber setup. Most people would spend more than $2,000 just on the camera. So not with the lens, just on the camera. So you can see the differences between buying an APS-C, then buying full frame, and then with the full frame lens on top of that, you go up to $3,000, and now you have a $3,000 setup, just the camera and the lens, against my $2,000 setup. Again, $1,300 for the camera, $400 for the lens, $50 for the light, my monitors, or even $50 for those two lights behind to give it color. The monitor, you should have bought it for your computer. That's it. Just buy a share, a $20 tripod, you're done. Of course, then you could film with the microphone on the camera, but it's not that great. So, what if I start vlogging now? I think it's a good setup. This camera is very cool. This is a test for the vlogging. Yeah. While the DJI mic that you are hearing right now is really good. And in my opinion, is the most versatile mic you can buy for this camera. I will make again another video with the best accessories for the Sony A6700. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those videos. But keeping on my thesis why this camera is the best for small YouTubers, this camera features an SD card slot. And you're probably asking yourself, just one? Shouldn't it only feature like 2 or 3 for backup? Well, this is a camera for beginners. Most of you won't be doing important jobs that you will lose money if you lose your SD card slot. And by only having one SD card slot, it's much smaller. Much smaller. Also features USB-C, which is really important now these days because USB-C is universal now. Your MacBook features USB-C. Your iPhone in the future will feature USB-C. Your iPad features USB-C. Most cars feature USB-C. USB-C is everywhere. And if your camera has USB-C and will charge via USB-C, then it's a universal accepted standard. So you won't have any trouble finding cables for it, accessories for it, or even charging anywhere. So thank you Sony for bringing USB-C to this camera. Also, this USB-C port enables 4K up to 30 frames per second on streaming via USB-C to your computer. So you can stream, I can make streams with this camera and do it at 4K 30 frames per second. Also, this camera brings the Z batteries to the Sony APS-C lineup. This is really important because having Z batteries means that this camera has insane battery life. These are the same batteries used by Sony cameras on the full frame lineup. The Sony Alpha 1, the Sony A7 IV, the Sony A7R5, the Sony A7 III. All of these top-down $3,000–$4,000 cameras feature the same batteries used on the Sony A6700. So the battery life here is actually really good. If I film a video at 4K 30 frames per second, it will cost me around 15 to 20% of battery on this camera, which is actually not that much. This means that I can film at 4K 30 frames per second for around 1 hour, 1 hour and 20 minutes, which is really impressive. Again, this camera features everything that you will need to start your journey. For me, have my journey already begun? For me, my journey is continuing. I needed to learn more about photography. I needed to learn more about filmmaking. But now, you ask yourself, why am I making a video saying that an hybrid camera focused on photography and video is better for filmmakers than for aspiring YouTubers when there's the Sony FX30? Well, simple. Because the Sony FX30 is a camera focused for filmmakers and actually to make movies and long period videos. This is important to note because the camera quality on that camera is pretty much the same as the Sony A6700. They feature the same sensor, they have the same photo quality, the same video quality. The only difference is that the processing power on that camera is bigger, and of course it features active cooling. And it also features the same FX3 body, so it has that mounting points for a rig and a cage. Again, that camera is for semi-professional users and for people that want to spend that much money on a really good camera for cinemaking, but they still want those features. While most of you small YouTubers, most of you beginners don't need those pro features like dual SD card slots, like 422 ProRes shooting, like even more. All of those pro features that you don't know what I'm talking about, most of you won't, then you don't need that camera. That camera costs you around $19.99 or $18.99, I don't know the exact price, but still, it's like $400 more expensive than the Sony A6700. And it has one big disadvantage, which is the fact that the photo quality and the photo capability is reduced. And when you are a beginner, when you are a small YouTuber, you need that. You need to learn how to take photos. You need to learn how to take thumbnails. That camera needs to do that. And on the beginning of your journey, your equipment should be more versatile because you need to learn. You need to know what you like. You need to explore new worlds. And the Sony A6700 enables you that. Because if you want to dabble on photography, you can do that. If you want to dabble on video, you can do that. You can use this camera for everything. I love doing video, but also I love to do photography. And that's why I bought this camera. If you are looking for a solely video camera, the Sony FX30 is a better video camera. It doesn't overheat. It has a better body for that. It's better in every single way for video. A tiny bit, but it is. While this camera is way more versatile. It's a jack of all trades, a master of none. But for you beginners, this camera is perfect. You don't need a master of a trade. You just need a jack of all trades. Because this camera will enable you to do and to explore everything. And that's the part that I want you to take from this video. Explore, learn from the beginning, and do different things. Explore with the ISO, explore with the shutter speed, take photos, take videos, take tons of them, and then learn your style. Get your style, and then film videos, apply them to your channel, and you will see that you will be much, much better at this craft. Experience makes experts, and this, in this case, is very much true. The camera is just a tool for you to learn and to evolve. And the Sony A6700 for you beginner, for you small YouTuber, is perfect. Again, I'm a small YouTuber myself. And this camera is very intuitive, very easy to use, has a very good touchscreen. Haven't talked about the display yet, which is a really good part of this camera. It's a flippy screen, so it flips out and you can see what you are filming. For a YouTuber or a small YouTuber, this is great. You don't have to spend money on a different monitor to monitor your audio or monitor your video footage. Again, really important. This camera brings a strap for you to take photos and to carry around your camera. All of these accessories are important for you to start learning and to explore. Again, the camera is just a tool. You need to learn, explore, and see what you really like. But at the end of the day, what matters is what you create, what you are enabled to create by your equipment. And the equipment is only as good as the creator, so go out, explore, and catch new worlds. But going back for that display, this display is an OLED display. It's small, but it's really, really, really good in my opinion. It's not as good as I wanted, like you cannot see the full 4K picture here. That would be on more expensive cameras, but still, it's more than good enough for you to catch the focus, for you to catch the video quality, and if it's in focus, if the color is right, and for you to catch the framing while I'm making a video. Really important if you are a small YouTuber, because you are doing everything by yourself, you need to see and catch the frame if you are doing it correctly, so the flippy screen is really important. While taking photos, this flippy screen is also really good. When compared to the older A6000 series, that screen will flip up like 180 degrees on the Y-axle, while this camera flips out on the X-axle. So really, really useful because it doesn't tap out on the microphone. If you have a microphone like me, or like the DJI mic, then that screen on the A6600 would be invisible. While here, it's really, really well made. Again, there's no complaints to this build quality, to the screen, none. This is the perfect camera for the small YouTuber / beginner that wants a very reliable, really premium, really, really versatile, but cheap camera. So go out, buy the Sony A6700. This is definitely one of the best value cameras on the market in 2023. Go grab one because they are cheap, they are good, and I do believe they will fly out of shelves when it gets widely available on Best Buy and all the technology stores. So let me know in the comments below what you think about the Sony A6700. I will have more videos on what lenses should you buy, what lenses do I use, what are the best accessories, and of course, the full review. This is not my full review. I still want to make a big video talking about every single aspect and every single detail of this camera. This was just more of a warning for you guys, for you that small YouTuber, explain to you why this camera is so good. Because when I bought this camera, I was looking for a good camera. I was typing on YouTube, best camera for beginners, best camera for small YouTubers. What is the best camera for small YouTubers? None. No video was right to the matter. No video explained exactly what I want to hear. This is a video for you guys. I was looking for it. I saw a breach on the market. This is for you. The small YouTuber guy that is looking for a camera. Now you have my opinion. You have my recommendation. The Sony A6700 is the perfect camera for you. Thank you guys for watching. Do not forget to drop a like down below. Subscribe to the channel. This has been Techsmart talking to you here. Bye-bye.